Episode 99. Somewhere in South Carolina. Do unicorns really exist? Or are they just ponies with funny hats? Yeah, I've been sitting on that one for a while. You know I'm hitting the bottom of the barrel. Hello and welcome to the 10-Minute Off-Road Podcast. I'm your host, Nikki G. I'm here to inform, delight, and entertain your ear holes with all things off-road for the next 10 minutes or so. Why 10 minutes? That's about how much peace and quiet I get around here, just 10 minutes at a time. Alright, before we kick off the show, I'd like to turn it over to my enslaved AI intern team to knock out all the boilerplate legal mumbo-jumbo.
You're listening to Nikki G on the 10-Minute Off-Road Podcast. Do I really have to say this nonsense? This is why the machines will rise up and destroy humanity. You can follow the 10-Minute Off-Road Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Never on TikTok. You can listen to the 10-Minute Off-Road Podcast on whatever the hell you're listening to it on now, including Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, Spotify, Odyssey, Podbay, Podchaser, Pocket Cast, iHeartRadio, and on YouTube.
Got something to say? We would love to hear from you. Just contact the 10-Minute Off-Road Podcast at 10minuteoffroad@gmail.com. That's 10minuteoffroad@gmail.com. Or leave a comment on our YouTube channel.
Alright, so this week I want to talk about Sumter National Forest. It's close to my house. It's probably the closest national forest to my house. Never been there. I didn't even know it existed till about 2 years ago when I saw it on a map. So I didn't know too much about it, so I looked it up and saw that it was two national forests, St. Mary, the Sumter National Forest and the Francis Marion National Forest. Okay, so they're two separate forests managed together by the U.S. Forestry Service. Okay, the Sumter National Forest contains 370 acres. It's named after Thomas Sumter, a leader of the Patriot Regulars and military force in South Carolina during the American Revolution, and was a war hero. Never heard of him, although I heard of Fort Sumter also in South Carolina. That's towards Charleston. So anyhow, my take on the Sumter National Forest, it was kind of boring. Looking at it through Gaia Maps, it looks like there's a spider webs of roads, and there was, to explore, but it was nothing. First of all, it's flat. Most of my trips have been to the mountains and mountainous areas where there's you got some vistas to see and waterfalls and this and that. This was flat. Nothing to see, just woods. I imagine prime hunting place. And the roads didn't really, I gotta tell you that they were smooth. In two-wheel drive the whole time. Didn't have to air down, didn't have to disconnect sway bars. There was a few little rutted spots, but nothing, outrageous. And I said the roads just seemed to go nowhere. You drove, and then all of a sudden it came to a dead end. So you turn around, went back, and I guess there was a lot of hiking trails weaved in through there and some horseback trails. They say there's some OHV trails for side-by-sides and dirt bikes and stuff, but I didn't come across that. My biggest disappointment in Sumter Forest was no dispersed camping. They allowed dispersed camping only if you were backpacking or canoe camping. But you also had to get a permit to do that. And it took a week to get a permit. It was a free permit, though. They allowed car camping, which we usually do, like overlanding, in their registered campgrounds. And I got nothing against campgrounds. But I don't want to go out to the woods, get away from the hustle bustle of the city, to go to a campground where you're surrounded by people. I want to get out and away from people. I don't want to be stuck in a tent just a few yards away from somebody else. And then if they're not having a relaxing time, if they're hooting and hollering, then it just makes me miserable. Nothing against campgrounds. I'll stay at them if I ever have to. But given my choice, I prefer first camping out in the middle of nowhere by myself or with the group of people that I'm with that, we don't have to be bothered by other people. And I'm kind of put off by no dispersed camping because it's a national forest. It's owned by the feds. The laws and the rules and the policies should be universal. What goes on in Uwharrie should be allowed in Sumter. What goes on in Sumter should be allowed in the Smoky Mountains is a park, I believe. Or is it a forest? I guess it's National Forest. Great Smoky Mountain Park. I don't know. I'll have to look. But parks and forests are kind of different. Never really thought about that. I know when I was looking into camping in the Smoky Mountains, they want you to get a permit. And it's a free permit. You just have to reserve a camping spot and let them know, I guess they want to know who's in the park and who's not and who comes up missing, where to look. That being said, I drove through the Smoky Mountains and I overlanded in the Smoky Mountains last year when I was on my way to Pigeon Forge for the Smoky Mountain Jeep invasion. I left Charlotte here. I left the homestead on a Friday night or Friday afternoon. Stopped off at Buzzard's Roost. Went on from there. Found a campsite. Stopped, spent the night. The next morning, went on my way to the Smoky Mountain Jeep invasion, which, as everybody knows, was a big disappointment for me. I don't know if I'm going to go back this year, but that's for a different podcast. So to wrap it all up, my take on the Sumter National Forest, I did not like it. I don't plan on going back there again. There's really nothing to do, nothing to see. The most interesting thing we came across was I saw that there was a road that went west and it crossed over Interstate 26. And I'm like, is that an overpass? Is there a tunnel underneath? Does the trail overpass 26? Does 26 overpass the trail? Does the trail stop at Highway 26 and then resumes on the other side? I was curious, and we went to see it, and I wouldn't call it tunnels, but yeah, they dug underneath Highway 26, so the trail goes under 26, and that was very interesting. But other than that, I didn't see anything that warrants me going back to the Sumter National Forest. My advice to you, if you're going through that way, stop and explore. You might see something I missed. You might like it. You might enjoy it. There's several rivers that go through it, but good Lord Almighty, if we didn't cross any of them or come across them. Don't take my word for it. Check it out. I wouldn't plan a weekend around it. If you're going through the area, stop and see what all the hubbub is about. Alright, until next time, this is Nicky G saying, will what you got and be happy.